directors of these entities. Please direct all correspondence to the appropriate company's website and/or business address. Welcome to the Parenting Connections radio broadcast with Dr. Tyra Hodge. Dr. Hodge is an author, speaker, the founder and president of Parenting Connections, whose mission is to strengthen families. She has been an educator for over 15 years, and Parenting Connections is a 501c3 nonprofit organization. Now, let's join Dr. Tyra Hodge for today's radio broadcast.
Hello, hello, hello. It's Tuesday. Welcome to my favorite day of the week. I'm so glad you're here today. Thank you for coming in. Thank you for listening. Thank you for sharing this out. Today, if you didn't know, is it's February. This is a Tuesday, favorite day of the week. But if you didn't know, not only is February Black History Month, it is also Teen Dating Violence Awareness Month. And most people don't know that. And so this is a month, not only do we learn about all the great Black men and women that help create our country, we also get to make our young people and parents awares of things that go on that are not always spoken about. And so today on the show, I have Wykesha from Bay Area Turning Point here with us today. Wykesha, welcome to the show. Are you there?
Yes, I'm here. Can you hear me well?
Welcome to the show. Yes, I hear you. I hear you. Wonderful.
Perfect.
Hey, so thank you for being on the show. And I was wondering, it's a little weird today because I can't see you. We're having some technical issues, and so she's on the phone today. But tell us about teen dating violence. It's not something that you hear very often, but as somebody that's worked in public education, and also not just that, being a parent, I think this is probably something that we need to know a little bit about. What do you think?
No, I do agree. And first, let me say thank you, Tara, for always welcoming us and being available to let us share the message of the types of violences that occur within the communities and how we as a community can bring a change and an impact. And so, yes, Teen Dating Violence Awareness Month is the month of February. And I think it's important that we pause to highlight and talk about this. A lot of the times people take a violent situation as though it's an adult issue, right? But it is an issue that impacts us all. And so while we don't want to imagine or think about our teens experiencing violence, we want them to just be going along through school and enjoying progressive and growing friendships and relationships. However, the truth of the matter is they are enduring some violent, uncomfortable, unhealthy boundaries and unhealthy relationships. And it's our responsibilities as parents, number one, but also as a community to talk about these issues, to bring the awareness and to highlight it so that we can move forward and be progressive in the change of reversing the conversation and reversing the unhealthiness and redirecting and creating some great boundaries.
You know, we hear a lot about boundaries, have boundaries. They were crossing my boundaries. But honestly, what is a boundary when you're talking about in regards to having other people in your life or in your circle? What are boundaries?
So for me, boundaries are different for everyone. You determine your own boundary. So when I say boundary, I'm I'm coming from a place of wanting people to know what's comfortable for you, what's okay for you. When is it that somebody then crosses the line and you're no longer in a space of where you're assured of yourself, you're assured of the situation, and you're assured of the decision that is being made, that it's a benefit to you. A lot of times people cross our boundaries and we're so afraid of being outside of the circle, or we're so afraid of being left behind or being left alone, that we allow the boundaries to continue to be crossed. We allow ourselves to be in uncomfortable situations. And what we've noticed a lot of times with teens is that's what happens. They want to be in the in crowd, right? They want to be included. I want to hang with this group at the lunch table. I want to hang with this group at the snack bar. And so if I say that this has hurt my feelings, or if I say that this has offended me, or that it's crossed a boundary, it's then presumed that I'm no longer going to be in the in crowd, or I'm no longer going to be liked. But what we want to do in highlighting not just this month, but teen dating violence, period, is that your comfort is your comfort, right? Your boundary is your boundary. Mm-hmm. And if someone doesn't respect that, then that means they no longer want to be in your space. Not you being in theirs, but they no longer want to be in yours.
So what if I'm the person that, because we set our own boundaries, but what if I'm allowing a whole bunch of stuff? Because we're getting ready, and I don't want to get off the focus, because we're going to go into what teen violence is, but just even as people, maybe a little bit later, you know what, I'm going to stay on task, but maybe a little bit later, maybe you can talk about how we set boundaries. Maybe we don't have any, maybe we haven't put any in place. But tell us a little bit about what teen dating violence is.
Sure. So we hear the term, right? Oh, it's teen dating violence, but nobody necessarily really knows, or they speculate what they believe it may be. And so when we're talking about teen dating violence, it's that physical abuse, emotional abuse, mental abuse, verbal abuse, is just happening to a teen. And so when we're talking about even domestic violence, some of those things mimic each other. But when we're talking about the specifics of teen dating violence, it's all of those things in that bracket, but it's applicable and it's happening to a teen. And so it's not a difference, which is why I try to inform people, is that when we're talking about domestic violence, we want to just categorize it to adults. But we have children. We have teens who are experiencing some of this same type of emotional abuse, physical abuse, the controlling behaviors, the manipulative behaviors. We have teens who are going through these same issues and dynamics. And as adults, we've grown a little bit. We've lived life a little bit. So our wisdom is a little bit more keen than teens. And so imagine going through emotional abuse, physical abuse, psychological abuse as a teen. I can't even fathom being a teenager and having to think of how to navigate dangerous relationships or unhealthy relationships. Like, how do you combat that? What do you say? How do you take a step back? How do you reflect? And so teen dating violence is really, like I said, all of those things regarding what you would see kind of happening to an adult in a domestic violence relationship. Mm-hmm. We just add teen to it. And that's exactly what it is.
Wow. So how big of an issue do you think it is?
So it's a large issue, Tyra. And I'm glad that this month we were able to get a couple of high schools in different school districts to join us this month to help us in pushing this. Because the statistics show that 1 in 4 teens experience dating abuse yearly.
Wow, 1 in 4? That's as much as what adult abuse is.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. It's just as prominent with our teens. Mm. Another statistic is 1 in 11 teenage females and 1 in 15 teenage males will experience physical abuse from a dating partner.
Wow. Okay, so 1 in 11 women and then 1 in 15 males will experience it. It's funny that you say that because on schools, you see different things and you can see like sometimes where a relationship is not going to go too well. You see the girl hitting the boy. And so that manipulation is not just a male on female violence. It comes in different forms. Would you agree?
I would definitely agree. And I think that statistic of the 1 in the 15 teenage males, that they're experiencing some of the same things. It's not just the girls that are having the teen dating violent relationships. It's these young men who are in school as well, trying to figure out how to navigate the controlling girlfriend or boyfriend, or they're trying to navigate how, you're hitting me. These aren't love taps. These aren't,
No.
Oh, they just like you. When you're younger, you're like, oh, they just like you. And we teach our children, or taught that growing up, that, if they're hitting you, that must mean that they like you. But we have to break that cycle. We have to break those comments, because that's not true. That's not true.
I never thought about that because we were taught that, if a little boy's picking on you, you were, they liked you, and if you picked on them, then you liked them, and actually it was completely wrong, and it was bullying.
Right.
It was just bullying. And and I learned years ago when I lived for those that don't know, I was in Bay Area Turning Point Shelter many years ago. I guess 20 going on 21 years ago now. A couple of times back in those 20, 21 years ago within that time frame. And so we were taught that abuse is about control. Is that still correct, or I might be a little bit out of training on it? But what do you have to say to that, Wykesha?
Yes, it is. It's still about, at the base of abuse is the power and the control. It's someone trying to gain power over you, control over you, power over the situation, control over the situation. And those things are just as applicable in the teen dating violence. When you have, the female who, the guy, he doesn't want her talking to any guys in the hallway. Or, she can't stay after school and participate in any sports because she needs to get home and talk on the phone with him all day. Or those controllings of, you can't talk to this crowd of people at school, or I need to be the only one you're walking with in the hallway. It's that power, that control, Tyra, that if that stuck with you, let it continue. So as you pass the message of advocacy against violence and helping people really see that control and that power, that's the root of what the issue is.
Okay, so everybody that's listening, if you're watching, we have a few people in. I know most people catch it on the replay. But if you have a question for Wykesha, go ahead and put it in the chat. Hi, Sherry. Hi, thanks for coming in. And as you share this, and if you're catching the replay, go ahead. I'm going to let make sure that they have access to this so they can answer your questions. But if you have questions now for her, legitimate questions, go ahead and put it in there. And if you have a little phrase, you can pop it in there as well, from your experience. And so how would a teen know if they're a victim of teen dating violence in a relationship, Wykesha?
So it's different for every teen. And so even though I may discuss a few things on here, I want, if we have any teens listening or any parents listening or watching, I want you to know that it's unique to every person. It's not a cookie cutter for you to know, or if you don't hear it, doesn't mean that you aren't in one. It's really looking for those signs and those red flags that come up. One of the things that is big is the controlling. So when he or she is trying to control who you talk to, who you hang with, where you go, where you don't go, that controlling aspect. Another thing that can happen for teens that we do see is the phone. Like they want to know what's going on in your phone. They have to know who you're talking to. Like, let me check your phone, who you've been talking to. You have to be on the phone with them all day, all night. Another thing is the frequency of the continuing of you got to tell me where you are every second of the day. We've noticed that a lot as well with teens. Another one for parents to look out for is the social media. That happens a lot of times where kids are harassed and all of those things on social media when they're experiencing those things. Another key thing for parents to identify with if your child is possibly maybe going through a teen dating violent relationship is a lot if they're withdrawn from the family unit. So if the boyfriend or girlfriend becomes that only person that they want to hang with, be with, talk to, and communicate with, that's a red flag, parents. That clearly if your child was connected and very connected to the family unit and enjoying that time and it's no longer, they're withdrawn, they're no longer wanting to engage, those are red flags that should indicate to you that something may be going on. Not to say that they're in a violent relationship, but it should bring some things up for you to kind of just dig a little deeper to find out why, what's going on, what's happening in this space for you to feel this way.
Okay, Sherry says online, she's on Facebook. And so we're live on Facebook, Twitter, and on YouTube. And so Sherry says that she didn't have teen violence, but and I do actually know her story. She didn't have teen violence, only living through domestic violence as a child. But how does that play a part in a teen, coming up with this bad behavior? Because sometimes it's not always taught. But I mean, how do you feel about when somebody says that some of that stuff is taught?
I believe it becomes a learned behavior. And thank you, Sherry, for the comment. But it becomes a learned behavior. And we see that a lot of times with our kiddos who we work with at Bay Area Turning Point. But if I see mom or if I see dad, the first people who we learn relationships from, that's who we see of what a relationship is. And if mom or dad is being emotionally abused, physically abused, verbally abused, I begin to foster that type of learning, or I begin to foster that type of behavior and equate that to that's what a relationship is, or this is what I'm supposed to endure or what I'm supposed to go through. And so then that's when it lingers into the teen dating violent relationships, because some majority of them have experienced or seen some type of domestic violence happening in their household. And so it begins to attribute to, well, if mom went through it, if dad went through it, and dad and mom were saying that they were in love, then clearly this must be a norm. But this is then where awareness months such as February, and where we as community partners come together and try to change that norm. We try to change that thinking to reflect it to something different. And it takes time. It takes people continuing to have the conversation and being willing to be vulnerable. But a lot of times it's the learned behavior that people attribute to, oh, this is what it's supposed to be, until we choose to show something different.
Do you feel, and so why February? I don't know if you know the history on why teen domestic violence months with February, when we have Black History Month that month. And so why February?
I'm not sure why they chose February. I'm really not. I'll go back and do some research on that. But I think, of course, February is an amazing month.
Like the love. I was thinking because it was the love month, maybe. I don't know.
and it possibly is. We did some things with the school because it's Valentine's Day at the schools. It's, there are roses, there are teddy bears, there are all of that. But the flip side to that is, even though you're getting the teddy bear and you're getting the chocolate and the flowers, there also may be some underlying things that are going on. So we take the time, and it's also like Respect Week within February. So we're teaching them about love, but love in a respectful way, love in a caring way, and what that looks like. So I'm not really sure, but you bring up a good point about it. Just maybe because it's the love month. And let me show you how to really love on somebody in a genuine, caring, concerning type of way.
And I agree. I can definitely dig that. Also in there, you mentioned the hearts, the candies, and stuff like that. That's part of that, a cycle of that can be not just because trust me, I still want my Valentine's presents, from my husband. So,
right.
But the overly avert, love, affection, help me here, but that could be a part of that cycle of abuse as well.
Yes, it can. So that like that honeymoon stage, that tension building stage and battering stage, it's all the same. And so as a team,
could you go into that a little bit, because I think it's important.
Sure. So with the honeymoon stage, it's that stage of the candy. It's the gifts. It's for teens. It's you maybe buy me something from the snack bar, or you holding my hand in the hallway, or letting me wear your Letterman jacket. Those lovey-dovey make me feel good. Like, this is where I feel like you love me and you value me, right? That's the honeymoon stage. And then the tension building phase is where I'm walking on eggshells. It's like, it's Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde. 1 minute, he or she is all kind to me. We're walking down the whole hallway, holding hands. We're laughing and talking. And then flip, it's a completely different thing. Yesterday, you let me talk to John. However, today, I can't say anything to him. So it's that switch. And so I'm now in a phase of nothing that I do or nothing that I say works or is good enough. And so I'm just waiting. I'm now in the waiting game of what's about to occur. Like, the water is about to boil over. And then after that, so you have the honeymoon tension, and then it's the battering. And so not battering in the sense of literally the punching and all of that, but it could be whatever that type of abuse that your abuser does. So whether it's the physical, the mental, the verbal, that's when that happens. And so after that tension has built, it's now bam. Now I'm cursing you out, or I'm pushing you against the lockers, or I'm snatching your phone out of your hand, or I'm making you delete all your friends off of Facebook. So it's then all of those things begin to happen. And so after he or she has done all of that, now here I go back to bringing you candy, or there I go back to buying you something from the snack bar. I asked my mom, could you come over for the weekend so that we can watch movies? So it's now back to that honeymoon of where, oh, this is the guy that I like.
Right.
This is the guy who I thought was so special, or girl who I thought was so fantastic in school.
Right. Wow. It really gives us something to think about. Because I think I wrote a book, Don't Date Him, so many reasons why. Actually, that's getting ready to go back through production and be reworked. But there's so you briefly mentioned types of abuse that people don't even know, that they may not know what is abuse. Can you, because I wanted to make sure that it's clearly defined and that it doesn't fit inside of a box, but give the listeners like some definitions of what that abuse can look like, because sometimes you're like, this isn't quite right, and I don't know if it's really falling in that pattern, or because you got to be able to see it, or see something's off, and then be able to put a stop to it. So tell us, I want the listeners to clearly have a definition of what that abuse looks like sometimes.
Right. Okay. Thank you. That's a great point, because sometimes we're in things and we don't even know we're in them. We don't know what it looks like, or what the definition, or how to even label it. So that's a really good point. Of course, the physical abuse is what society knows a lot about. We know about the physical. So that's the hitting, the pushing, the punching, black eyes, bruises, things of that nature.
Right.
When we think of the verbal abuse, so sometimes people become accepting of the harsh words, and it becomes that, oh, it's just how they talk. We downplay it. But that verbal abuse is that abuse of the words, the language that you're using. And so it's the things that come out of your mouth that attack my character, that attack my worth, that attack my value as a person and who I believe that I am. And so with that verbal abuse, if you continue to tell me I'm not going to be anything, I'm ugly, I'm this, that, or the third, I begin to believe those things, which diminishes who I am. And then there comes that power and that control. Another one that people oftentimes maybe don't really hear about a lot of times, or maybe not identify with, is the financial abuse. And so with financial abuse, it's, let's say I'm not the breadwinner of the household. My spouse or my partner is. And so what that can look like is, if I'm only bringing home half of what you bring home, you pretty much may make all of my money be the money for the bills, and I'm left with nothing. But you can tell me, oh, well, I'll give you $100 a month. And then you got to get groceries. You got to take care of the kids. You got to put gas in your car to get to work, all of that. So it's the control of the finances. So how am I supposed to save money if I did need it for a rainy day, right? If I did need to flee to go, I now have nothing. You've controlled all the dollars that could potentially come into the home. And a lot of times that also happens with teens as well. We know most teens, they may be working at fast food restaurants and things of that nature. But we do have cases where if he or she is working, it's now, oh, well, I need you to give me money. Or I need you to pay these things for me and take care of these things for me. Even as a teen, they're walking around having these types of things burdening them and weighing on them as they're navigating through life. Another one is sexual abuse. It's where you're manipulating me or making me give myself or do sexual acts with you, and I don't want to. One thing we like to tell people who are in dating relationships or they're married, sexual abuse happens in those relationships. Just because you're dating someone or that you're married to someone doesn't mean that you have to give of yourself. Doesn't mean you have to give of your body. That still belongs to you. And a lot of times with abusers, teens as well, and adults, is they try to manipulate in that space of where you say you love me, or you said you're my girlfriend, or you are my wife, you're my husband. You're supposed to do this for me, or I guess I'll just cheat on you, and nobody wants to be cheated on, right?
No.
So they go through all of those things. So the manipulation, again, the control, and the power often happens. And then the last one I'll talk about is the emotional abuse that people don't always attach to. And so what that emotional abuse is, I know me, I'm a lovey-dovey person. I like to be loved on. And so some abusers will use that as a way of power and control, where they won't love on you. They'll distance themselves from you. They won't engage with you. It's like you're over here by yourself and I'm over here by myself. We're basically like roommates. We're just in the same space, but it's no connection there. And so in order for them to love on you, to welcome you in their space, I need you to do these things for me, or I need you to make sure these things are taken care of. And so that you can feel that connection, that attraction, that wanting, you'll go and you'll do those things, even though you don't want to. But it's just so that you can have that feeling or have that love. And we know that's a part of also the manipulation with abusers that happens. But emotional abuse is a big thing that happens with teens. Because oftentimes as parents, we're busy. We're moving through life. We're trying to take care of home, work, all of those things. And not to discredit the hard work that parents have to do. And sometimes teens feel left out. And so if I have this boy or this girl that shows this interest in me, and then they use that interest to hover over my head and try to control me and make me do all the things that they want me to do that I don't want to do. However, that goes back to that honeymoon stage where they initially made me feel good. They initially included me on their family outings, or I could come over to their house and watch movies. Mm-hmm. And so it's all those different type of things that happen and that go on. And those are just a few of the different type of abuses that do happen both in teens and as well as with adults.
Hey, well, wow, that was a lot of information and a lot of good information. And so, make sure that y'all even save this video for, somebody that may need to see it. Sybil has joined in on Facebook. Hi, Sybil. Sybil is one of my, she is one of my mentors. We have stayed connected, although we were not friends when I was in the shelter. She was a counselor at the shelter that I lived in, and just a beautiful, beautiful woman. And so just high standards. She was somebody that I looked up to. But just eventually in time, as I left shelter and just kind of stayed in contact with them as I've kind of progressed through life, and we've become sisters. And so I love you, Sybil, and thank you for all your encouragement and your motivation throughout this 21 years. And so yes, you just don't know where life is going to take you. So you always treat people right? And so, okay, so let me get back. Y'all, make sure you share this out, because this is a lot of good information. It's going out to like several platforms. And so we want this information to get out, because you just don't know what your kids or what the neighbors' kids might be going through. Or you may notice some of these signs that you have in your own life, and you may need to stop it and get some help and get some coaching or teaching. So what causes one to be a predator, Wykesha? Why am I like this? A person would say. Why?
So the why. Well, first, before I get to the why, let's go back to Sybil. I will share with you.
Let's go back to Sybil.
The same. No, because I feel that to share this the same way that you feel about Sybil is. Hear me say the genuineness that she honestly feels about you. You made an impact on her life, and she shares, always shares that with us as the agency of making sure that we lead from the heart and that we serve from the heart, because you just never know how the impact may be. We never know who we're crossing paths with at Barrier Turning Point and what their life may turn out to be. But I just want you to know that
I'm about to cry. I'm about to cry on my own show.
Sentiments. It's okay, but the same sentiments that you share about her, she has that genuineness towards you, and she still leads with that same way of the lives that she continues to impact. So I just wanted to share that with you. But the why, so that's a big one. It's a large one to unpack as well, because the why is so different.
And it can be so different. Exactly. It can be so different.
So different. So there are many different risk factors that cause one to be a perpetrator of intimate partner violence, of teen dating violence. Some of the main ones, of course, we talked about earlier, is the witnessing of the abuse. So if I see this happening in the home, I've attached this to what a relationship is. I've attached this to how I get what I want, or how I navigate through life. And so if I learned it in home, sometimes I'm going to use this same application when it comes to other relationships.
Right, because it worked for dad or it worked for mom, so it may just work for me. And exactly. So, and also if it's normal, we see so much in media, today, to where, they normalize everything that is not normal. it's not normal for teens to be running around and engaging in illicit whatever, and
Exactly.
so not like that, not if they want a happy and a holy and a, to really experience what love is supposed to be like. And so we have that. And the perpetrator, and I hate to say that they're always a bad person, because I don't think that's true either, because we've all had bad motives, one time or another, maybe if it was just because they wanted the bad motive of wanting the last piece of chocolate, you know what I mean?
Right.
And so so we talked about how, it could be normal to the person that's an abuser, to where that's how they get their control, or that's how they get their way, or that's how they get what they want. What could be some other factors?
Some other factors is self-worth. Self-worth is a big one, Tyra. If I don't feel good about who I am, or if I don't value myself, oftentimes I reflect that on other people, because I can't control my own life, or I don't feel validated in my own self. I will deflect that on somebody else, because if nothing's going right, I feel like in my own life, I'll try to control and have power over this person or this situation, because it then validates who I am. It then makes me feel like I have this worth and this value. So the self-worth, or the lack thereof, plays a part as well. Another one is gender socialization, and that happens a lot with teens. It's the looking at the gender roles based on media, religious, or educational institutions can contribute to violence. If I feel like it's social media has all of these things, and we know kids are looking at social media 24/7.
Yes.
If I'm looking at all of the negatives that social media is talking about regarding, your girl got to do what you say do, or if your boyfriend isn't doing this for you, like all of that negative that's coming into a teen that has not yet gotten the wisdom that we have as adults to navigate that, that's what they're going to attach to, I got to make him or her do this, because this is what society is saying. This is those gender biases or gender roles that have been put out there. And when we don't combat the negative with the positive, when we don't become those change agents in the communities, when the teachers, when the counselors, when the community activists don't really put ourselves out there to change the norm of what social media, or the norm of what unhealthy relationships look like, then we have these teens who are perpetrators that grow up to be adult perpetrators, which then we have teens who are abusive situations, and they grow up to be adults in abusive situations. And so it's really a lot of those factors that play into what becomes a perpetrator, but also at the end of the day, it becomes a choice. Right. It's a choice on whether you're going to choose to try to exert power and control over somebody. If you're going to choose to use abusive, manipulative behaviors over somebody, it becomes a choice for you as the perpetrator of what you choose to do to someone else.
And even the better part, I'm going to say in most cases, it becomes a choice of whether you're going to stay in that relationship. If you're going to continue to allow that to go on. Now, some people can't, some people are stuck and they need help to getting out. And that's why there are places like Bay Area Turning Point that are there to help and to give assistance and to give some counseling and therapy and, all these wonderful things that y'all do out there. But we have to come to ourselves in a place to where we say that this is okay, and I do not have to take this, that actually there is better out there, because the abuser may want you to think that there is not better, or you cannot do better. But you know what? I always believe that God has a plan if you put your faith in him. And sometimes we do suffer through some things. Sometimes we do. And so let me get back on topic here.
No, you're on topic, Tara. You're on topic. People, it's good to let people know that they have a choice.
Mm-hmm.
You have a choice for better. You have a choice to determine what's okay for you and what's healthy for you and what you like. So you're right on topic. It's important to let people know that they have options, right? The situation, it seems uneasy and uncomfortable, but like we tell our clients, we're walking with you through the uncomfortable together so that you can see the other side of what your choice is.
So what advice I want you to give, because I'm going to make my children watch these video, and I'm going to make my children's friends' parents make their children watch this video. And so give us some advice on the teens that have been in an abusive relationship, because if we're not careful, that becomes a pattern of who we pick. And so what advice would you give us?
Right, you're so right. It becomes the pattern of the choice that I continue to make. So advice that I would give teens is, first, that you're not alone. You're not by yourself. You are cared about. You are loved. You are worthy. You are great. You are fantastic. I speak words of life to you. What I also encourage them to do is learn and recognize the signs. Just because it doesn't sound like it's applicable to you, take the time to just listen. Because if you listen, you never know what light bulb may come on.
Right.
The other thing I like to,
because people will speak the heart. If you give them enough time and you listen, people will speak their heart. And so one of the things that I teach, that I've taught behavior teachers to do is, for that first couple of weeks in a self-contained behavior classroom, to just watch and document, just to sit back and listen, take notes, just watch the behaviors, watch the interactions, watch what they do when this happens, watch, this and that, because people, they'll tell you what's in their heart. Out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth will speak. And so what about parents? How do they fit in the picture?
So they fit into the picture. So one of the other things I was going to say for teens is telling a trusted individual, whether it's your counselor, whether it's your parent, whether it's a community leader that you're connected with, or if it's your friend's parents, really having someone to talk to about that. The other part that I think is key for parents is, like you said, what should parents do? The first thing for a parent, listen. Simple. Listen. We don't have all the answers. You don't have all the answers. You don't know your child's experience. I like to tell people all the time, my experience is yours and yours is yours. And so if your child has disclosed to you that they are experiencing or having a situation or feel like they may be going through some type of violence, and it may not come out as, Mom or Dad, I'm in a violent relationship, it may come out in those ways, which is why it's important that parents learn the signs as well. Because when your child comes to you with those things, the first thing is to listen. Listen intently to hear what it is that they're saying. Then from there, if you don't know what to do, which a lot of times parents don't, because, we know all the answers when it's happening to somebody else, but when it's us, we don't. Bay Area Turning Point is an awesome resource to connect with, to be able to help you and your team navigate through what that looks like, whether it's counseling services, whether if it's something, sexual harassment or anything like that. We help you walk through with filing charges or speaking to the police departments. And so finding a resource in your community that specializes in issues such as violent relationships and unhealthy boundaries. Another thing for parents to do is communicate with the schools. I know sometimes we want to say, the schools don't care, but I choose to think different. I don't believe teachers go into teaching just because it's a fun thing to do, or that counselors do it, or I don't think that's it. They really have a heart and a care for the kiddos.
And the thing is also with that, when they know that you care, you bet that lights a fire within them. It really does. We get moving. When we know that a parent is concerned about something, it gets the school moving. And that's just me, having been a teacher for many years. And so that does happen. I didn't mean to cut you off, but go ahead.
You're good. No, that's it. Informing the school and keeping them in the loop, because it's not just always that one person that's having the type of violence going on in the home, going on in their relationship. But it puts the school on alert, for them to also be watchful and be mindful, as well. And so parents, I want to also tell you, like I said before, you're not going to have all the answers, and it's okay. But when you rally people around your child, or when you rally people who have a genuine heart and concern, you're able to help navigate through that. And I also like to tell parents that sometimes the teens may still talk to them. They may still go back. They may continue in the relationship, but it doesn't negate the fact that they are in something unhealthy. It doesn't mean that you throw your hands up and forget it. It doesn't mean that you put these harsh stipulations on your child, that if you don't stop talking to them, then I'm going to do this, that, and the third, because it doesn't do anything but flip it to the other side of what you didn't want it to be. And so just being present, being available, and connecting your child with the resources and the awareness tools, and pouring information into them. So at the end of the day, what we've been saying is they can make a choice. They can make a choice. As much as we want to believe we have control over our teens, they still make choices. We're not with them 24/7.
Sybil says it takes a village, and you are right. And so with that, how do we fix this and get parents to understand that this is actually a real issue that goes on in the lives of teenagers sometimes?
So how I believe we help bring it to the forefront of parents is platforms such as this, right? Parents are listening in. We go out to social groups, civic groups, social clubs. We go to churches. We are in the schools. And so it's utilizing platforms to spread the information. And so if you are involved in any social groups, social platforms, and if you have one, inviting resources such as Bay Area Turning Point, we'd love for it to be us, absolutely. However, my main focus is that the information gets out there. So if it isn't us, find another organization that you can connect with that is willing to come and pour the information out. There are parents everywhere, right? And so we have to be willing to be vocal everywhere. We can't just say, oh, I'm going to push the information to the school. No, I got to be willing to go stand in front of the congregation and talk about these things.
Yes.
I got to be willing to go to the civic club at the neighborhood and talk about these things. So we have to be willing to utilize our platforms coupled with our voice to be able to make the change and bring the awareness.
Absolutely. So you mentioned some good approaches that for helping parents help. So getting active, in the community and getting some training. You can get training. Most of the training is free. Is that correct? Or absolutely free of charge. Ours is free. Most organizations are free because our main goal is really the awareness and pushing the information out. And so this is what I would like to see in Tyra's perfect world. I would see teachers get trained on recognizing teen dating violence. I would see that. I would see, nursery, people getting, because what happens is that you may, work in one place, but ultimately we go out into the community. And so that's kind of spreads us out to where we could see things where normal people in certain situations would not be able to see that. And so the more information we have where we're at that moment, that information can become valuable to somebody in a line. You don't know. And so get as much information as you can. What can we do in order to put an end to teen violence? I mean, is there an end? Can there be an end?
I like to believe that there can. I would say, Tara, I like to believe that we will have an end date to violence for anybody.
Sybil says getting kids trained. Absolutely. Yes. Absolutely.
So prevention is key. And that's kind of maybe what Sybil is talking about, where the prevention and talking about it amongst the youth, like starting at that level, which is something we do as an agency, where we go out into the school districts and we talk to teens. We talk to kids in middle school. We're even trying to get into elementary school, where we are talking about what healthy boundaries and healthy relationships look like and what that is. It's very difficult and a slow process. However, we continue to be a voice for that change. We're continuing to develop curriculum, develop pamphlets, brochures, information. We highlighting awareness month such as this so that we can bring the information to the forefront. But parents, I will say, you have to be willing to have the uncomfortable conversations. You have to be willing to allow your children to have uncomfortable conversations, because the more we try to cover up, the more we try to act like it's not happening, we're just allowing other people, the outside factors, to raise our children, to inform our children, and to navigate life for our children. And so prevention is one of the things we hone in on really big at our agency, and working through that with teens so that they know what it looks like.
Okay. And so how would a person get in touch with Bay Area Turning Point?
So we are easy to find. We are on Facebook. If you look up Bay Area Turning Point, you can find us there. Our hotline information is 281-286-2525. We have someone who is available to answer the phone 24/7. So we have an advocate who is available, and that's for if you just need someone to talk to, if you just need someone to listen. Is this really what I'm going through? Can you tell me if this is what it really looks like? And so we have someone who is able, like I said, to pick up that phone 24/7 and help you talk it through, both for adults and for children. We have our website, which is www.bayareaturningpoint.org, where you can go onto our website and view all of our information, how to get in contact with us. We have a contact button where you can reach out to us if you're not comfortable calling, but you need the advocate. You need someone to help you talk through your situation. You can reach us via our website. So we're on the social media platforms. I gave you the hotline information and our website. We are available and we are here to help as best we can and as much as we know how. You are not alone in this situation. You do not have to be alone in your situation. Make the choice to reach out if you know, or even if you assume that you are experiencing any form of domestic violence or sexual violence.
Don't stay silent. Don't stay silent. So, Wykesha, thank you so much for being on the show. I always love when I can have Bay Area Turning Point on the radio or do things for y'all. Y'all have been a blessing to me. I want to thank you for being on the show. I want you to be blessed. And I'm sure we'll be talking soon again. Yes. And I almost feel like this conversation needs to go on this week. And I was almost thinking about asking you just to do a pop-in. It wouldn't be on the actual radio, but we can definitely maybe go live together where people can actually see you at home maybe sometime this week if my schedule permits, and talk a little bit more about this because I want to get the most out of the month. And so But our time.
I'm open.
Okay. So I'm going to talk to you. And see if we can't do a pop-in. So maybe promote this video and then maybe get some people in here to really ask you, to be able to ask you questions and stuff like that. And some moms in the community and stuff. And so I love y'all. You take care. Our time is up. Look. Next week, take care of your family. That's what you get. That's what Parenting Connections is here, is to teach you that your first priority is your family, is your children, and is your parenting skills. All else comes next to that. And so next to the family, God, family, and then we work hard. All right. I'll see you next Tuesday.
Thank you for tuning in to the Parenting Connections radio broadcast with Dr. Tyra Hodge. We hope something was said to enlighten and strengthen you and your family. If you have questions, you may reach Parenting Connections via email at info@parentingconnections.net. Join Dr. Tyra Hodge next week for another powerful broadcast.